Hello, it's Jake at Canadian Cutting Edge, and today we're going to take a look at a nice small Sanremu knife that's been all blacked out. This is the 707. That's the original designation for it, now called the 7007. Just within the 3-inch knife laws that a lot of places are under. So it's a knife that can be carried in a lot of places. A liner lock, G10, a nice hollow grind blade, very slight recurve. Hey, but I'm getting into the review, so let's slow down. If you want to take a good look at this knife and hear all about it, stick around. We'll put the camera in the tabletop mode and we'll go through all of the details. The first thing that I want to do is do a little bit of a size comparison on this knife. And those of you who are familiar with Sanremu will know, or Sanremu, however you want to say it, I'm not sure the exact pronunciation, are familiar with the 7010, formerly the 710. So you can see the two knives are very much the same size in most of their dimensions. I'll line up those pivots. That's the Ontario Rat 1. The blade, 2 7/8 inches long of the blade. That is roughly 7.3 centimeters. The handle is 3 5/8. 3 5/8 inches long in the handle. That's roughly 9.2 centimeters if I remember correctly. And the entire length of the whole knife is about 6.5 inches. And that is roughly 16.5 centimeters long. So that's the rough dimensions of the knife. You've got the thickness of the handle here is right around 1 centimeter. That's about 0.4 of an inch. And it weighs 2.4 ounces, which is about 68 grams, 69 grams, something like that. So it's not a big, heavy knife by any stretch. The thickness of the blade is 2.5 millimeters, which is 0.1 inches, which obviously is thinner than 1/8 of an inch. And what we have for the steel is 8CR14 MOV. So what we've got is a knife that is just within the legal range of the 3-inch laws. It's a fairly stealthy little knife, not too thick, not too heavy, non-reflective, and just a easy to carry kind of knife. So let's start with the blade and talk about some more specifics about it. What we have is a hollow grind and a very slight recurve here. So that makes it a pretty good cutter, slicer, sort of a really nice all-round small EDC kind of blade. It's a drop point, a little bit of a swedge on either side coming to this quite pointy tip. So I wouldn't use this tip to pry at all. It's a fairly strong tip. In my tests, I did a little bit of stabbing tests in some soft, in some pine with some bending, but I wouldn't do very much of that. It's just not the knife designed for that. Sanremu has been around the block for quite a number of years, and their heat treatment is quite good. And I trust it to be a good steel, and in my testing so far, it has been. Here we've got flat top of the blade here, so it's easy to use a clamping system to sharpen it. We do have a slight recurve here, so that might be a little bit more difficult to sharpen. The thumb studs are just perfect for this knife. It's back far enough on the blade not to be too much of a, it's not getting in the way of your cutting. And it's just at the right spot on the knife there so that you can easily flick open the knife. When you're using the knife, you can just flick it open pretty easily because of the placement of the thumb stud. The sort of geometry of the thumb stud is sort of a terraced kind of 3 steps down, and that makes it easy for your thumb to grip it and flick it open. There's a little bit of jimping on this very gentle thumb rise, and it actually does give good grip to the thumb, and there's a little bit of jimping on the liner lock. The G10 has got a really nice texture on it, so it's that helps with the purchase as well. The liners are nested inside the G10, which helps with both the reflectiveness of the knife, and it helps keep it nice and thin. I believe I mentioned that it's 1 centimeter thick, which is 0.4 inches. So the thickness of the handle is really nice. Open pillar construction, so it's really easy to clean. And those pillars are 3D, so you've got sort of an hourglass shape on there. And, the liners are not skeletonized at all, but it still comes in at 2.4 ounces, which is about 69 grams. Really decent, basic, small to medium-sized EDC. And it does the job quite well. All the hardware on here is not Torx. It's all hex screws, also known as Allens. So the clip, I'm not too fond of the clip. In fact, that's probably the biggest thing that I don't like about this knife. You've got about 3/4 of an inch sticking out when it's in your pocket. That's about 2 centimeters of handle sticking out of your pocket. You can only leave it in this tip down right side orientation. There's no other options to move the clip around. But if you're like me, I like to have a nice light knife like this often just dropped in my pocket. So I would take the pocket clip off and I just drop this in the bottom of my pocket. It would be a very discreet carry. The lanyard hole is kind of small. You're going to have a tricky time just trying to feed paracord through the lanyard hole. Unless you do what I did on this sample piece of paracord. I heated it up for pretty much, 3/4 of an inch. And once it was warm, I rolled it with, I had my fingers all wet, and I rolled it so it was nice and thin. And once you've got a hard, thin piece of paracord to start it, it's easy enough to feed through. You can see it on this angle that there's a nice bronze washer on the pivot on the side of the pocket clip. And on the other side, you can't see it. See, what there is in there is a very, very micro thin bronze washer and a black nylon, I think it's nylon, but a black plasticky type of washer as well. So 2 very thin washers on this side and a normal type of pivot washer on the side of the pocket clip. It is a snug enough pivot so that you have no play left to right, up and down. That's just fine. And the detent, it holds it snug enough that if you shake this knife as hard as you want, and I'm not going to shake it hard right now, I'm going to knock my tripod over, it stays snug in there. It doesn't open up in your pocket. Let's do some of the cutting tests. Let's see how it does on some light wire. This has got some copper wire inside. Cuts through that, no problem. And, it doesn't have a problem with that light stuff. So we've got doubled up paracord, and it cuts through that, no problem at all as well. Let's hold some here. And it slices through the more slicing style cut, no problem. That's 1 inch wide, and it slices through that. Try this way. It cuts quite well. It's a decent knife. I like it. I paid just over $9, close to $10 US, about 2.5 months ago. It's got good traction, good purchase. It slices well. And the one negative that I don't really like about this knife is this pocket clip. So if you can do without the pocket clip, this thing's a real recommend. Or if you like this video, regardless of if you like the knife or not, please click on like. And I would really appreciate any comments. Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it a lot. If you're not yet a subscriber, I hope you'll consider subscribing. Please just remember, always cut towards your chum and not your thumb.